In this WrestleTalk news, CM Punk AEW return date revealed. Will Tony Khan split the brands? And Seth Rollins is a major freakout at Raw, so subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
Happy Friday, folks! And not to fill up your ears with a load of Punk, but I do actually have some hot CM goss just for you. Because while people have hithered and dithered over whether CM Punk would actually be returning to AEW following the post-all-out brawl last year, sentiment is now trending towards the fact that he will. Because Fight for Select just dropped a new report saying that they've heard Punk has expressed his willingness to return to AEW, and the pieces are being put into place for it to happen. Now, the report notes that nothing is set in stone and that things can change easily in this tumultuous situation, so nobody do anything rash. Nobody. Dax. More on that in a bit. Fight will say that they were told that the June 21st episode of Dynamite would be very interesting, and that was before it was announced as taking place at Chicago's Wintrust Arena. And now they've learned that the plan, as of now, is for Punk to return on or around that date. Backstage sources also said that there were pitches to announce the return ahead of time, even around the time of the Warner Upfronts, which are on May 17th, so pretty dang soon. Zelda first, then the Punk announcement. That's alright, that's a good week. For his part, Punk is said to be interested in working with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, though Fightful say they heard the Elite were not keen on working with him. The contact between the two sides has not yet happened, despite Punk reportedly trying to organise a meeting for quite some time. Fightful also learned of a planned meeting between Punk and Chris Jericho about the possibility of those two working together, even though Jericho has had some pretty mean things to say about Punk. Mend the fences, pretend to hit each other. It's a classic wrestling move. This all feeds into the news, though, from Fightful that AEW might be gearing up for a soft roster split, with Warner Bros. Discovery reportedly on the cusp of announcing a prime-time Saturday show. So a roster split would facilitate that show essentially having its own distinct identity, but is also reportedly to accommodate the preferences of talent who wanted to stay separate of particular situations. CM Punk! Cough. Now, talent Fightful spoke to had heard about the potential new show, but hadn't heard anything regarding Punk's return. Not boding well for the return, though, is this from Dave Meltzer and Wrestling Observer Radio, who said that Dax Harwood's public proposal for CM Punk and FTR to take on the Elite at All in London was not just delicious, it was a disingenuous power play. The idea being that if the Elite now don't agree to the match, it's going to make them look bad as fan sentiment rallies behind the idea of the match taking place. I would very much like the match to take place. But I am more in the camp of let's get all of the aggrieved parties to the table before we try and flip it. I mean, it's way more dramatic that way. Before we crack on with the rest of the episode, we just need to thank Will the MS Warrior Stewart for their support on Patreon. Now, one of Triple H's priorities when he took over WWE's creative scene was to sort out the company's premium live event calendar, and by sort out, I mean get rid of all those bloody gimmick shows. That's right, there would be no more Hell in a Cell, no more Extreme Rules, no more tables, ladders and chairs, and also stairs. Not only that, but the game was also going to finally answer fans' cries that have rung around for a couple of decades now by finally bringing back the King of the Ring as a standalone event, though that is a gimmick. And he has done just that with the King and Queen of the Ring event set for May 27th, only catch, it's gonna be a Saudi show. But still, it's cool. It's cool to see it back. Yay. Or should I say it was cool, as now, just shy of a month away from the event, WWE has only gone and scrapped it, making the announcement on Twitter that we will be getting the much less exciting return of the Night of Champions premium live event in its place. According to PW Insider, the decision is a creative choice that allows WWE to revive the Night of Champions pay-per-view and bring it to an international market. Okay, so you want to revive Night of Champions, but what about the also very much dead King and Queen of the Ring? Are the tournaments gonna still be happening? It seems like the answer is unclear right now, with WWE remaining tight-lipped on their status about the whole thing. However, one must assume that unless they just host the finals of the Night of Champions, surely there isn't enough time to do 2 7-match tournaments and 7 title matches as well. Because remember that Night of Champions is the only night of the year when every WWE title is on the line. Thank God they've got a couple of undisputed guys. Thank God. But at least we should actually get a Roman title defense if the gimmick of the show holds true. Though they could give Cody his rematch in Saudi Arabia. Don't do that! Don't do that! Don't do that! Speaking of rather nonsensical WWE changes, how about that Raw after WrestleMania? Have you forgotten how bad it was yet? I haven't. And if you have, I'm sorry, because I'm going to pull it out of its grave one more time, but I do have a good reason. Because amongst the 20 minutes of wrestling and the 2 hours, 40 minutes of promos, so many promos, was a rather strange segment involving Seth freaking Rollins. Rollins would begin to make his entrance, an ad break would occur, and then upon the end of said ad break, Rollins would stand in a ring for a couple of seconds before abruptly heading back through the curtain. It was truly odd and led to speculation regarding Rollins' in-ring promo getting scrapped while the Visionary was in the ring. Fan footage from the show seemed to show Rollins being told something by production staff while in the ring, then appearing slightly miffed. However, Fightful Select would later refute this, saying that the segment was indeed always planned to be just as rubbish as it was after all. However, again, now another perspective has been thrown into the mix, that of Freddie Prinze Jr. and his Wrestling with Freddie podcast co-host Jeff Dye, who was live at Raw and gave his first-hand account of proceedings. Seth Rollins came out and then they played a commercial during his intro, and then we could kind of hear him having a freak out on some production people. He was going, "Why is there a commercial?" Freddie then replied. We started to see him kind of lose it, and you guys couldn't see this if you were watching the show. He was pissed and he was yelling. He was hot. They came back from commercial, he gets a microphone, and you legit just see it in his face where he's like, "Nah, man, I'm not doing this. They surprised me with this crap. I'm pissed." Prinze Jr. would refute that the whole thing was planned, as Fightful reported, stating, "That's a bunch of BS. I know real stuff when I see it, and that was real." I mean, the bizarre nature of the segment makes it not overly hard to believe that Freddie's account could be true, although this was a Vince show, and Vince does weird things, so I could also easily see this just being a sort of nonsensical segment that was in fact planned. It was really nice for a few months there, wasn't it? It was really nice. Titan Towers, we hardly knew the... No, wait, that's a lie. Titan Towers is pretty much all we knew, because for over 30 years, WWE's headquarters had been the iconic Stamford, Connecticut mainstay with the WWE flag flying high. Well, the first thing I think of when I see the building is that legendary Super Bowl commercial with the guy getting tossed out of the window. It truly has been part of the company's DNA for so long at this point, it's hard to imagine WWE being anywhere else. However, that seems to be the case, as the long-planned move from Titan Towers, which has been in the works since 2019, is now finally set to happen. The company's new HQ is, funnily enough, just a few blocks away from Titan Towers, and was the former home of Swiss banking company UBS. The first look at the new building was tweeted out by Ryan Satin via an Instagram user with the company's logo already plastered on it. Now, despite looking ready to go, the move likely won't be completed until near the end of 2023. That big Tyrannosaurus head must be heavy. The move is yet another monumental development for the company, following, of course, their historic sale to Endeavor and the planned merger with UFC. Oh, and the most successful WrestleMania of all time. I mean, just why don't you chill out, WWE? You're doing too much. There's too much wrestling news. So much wrestling news. Switching gears to AEW now, and while WWE is seemingly holding out on surprise returns and debuts lately, AEW is picking up their slack. Not only did we get Switchblade Jay White making his debut last week on Dynamite, but this week saw the truly unexpected return of Jeff Hardy following a 9-month absence. Now, while Hardy was expected to return at some point once his court case was resolved, he recently underwent eye surgery, so it's safe to say it wasn't anticipated this week. And of course, we've been sent even further off the scent of the trail by Jeff's brother Matt, who recently claimed that Jeff was 6 to 8 weeks away from a return earlier this week. But alas, Jeff showed up to make the save from the firm's beatdown of Matt, Isaiah Cassidy, and Hook, and the place went bananas, especially for his chair, which was a big mouth gone bah. While it's of course nice to see Jeff back, we as always have questions regarding his physical state, especially coming off of a surgery. Thankfully, Fightful Select would clarify that although Jeff did get somewhat physically involved on Dynamite, his immediate plans may not involve any bump taking. Fightful reported, "We're told that Jeff Hardy is still physically recovering from a recent surgery, and there are some alternate plans over the next few weeks that don't involve him wrestling." You know what? That sounds fine with me. You just take your time, Jeff. We don't need to see you jump off anything high anymore. We've we have got an R fill. You're going to jump off so high, aren't you, immediately? And finally today we finish up with one Kenneth Omega, who has also made his return on this week's Dynamite to confront those nasty BCC boys, almost impaling Jon Moxley's face with a flathead screwdriver. While of course murdering someone would have been a bit much for his first night back, Omega may be leaving anyway, so who cares, right? That's right, because while much of the attention has been on CM Punk's potential return to AEW, as Fightful Select noted in their recent reports, AEW are also in the process of negotiating new deals for both Omega and the Young Bucks. While this has of course been common knowledge for months now, a curious update emerged from an unlikely source recently as Conan did an interview on House of Wrestling where he seemingly hinted that Omega had signed an extension with AEW. This would of course cause some confusion, however leave it up to our favourite Uncle Dave Meltzer to swoop in and try to clarify the situation. Meltzer would confirm that despite Conan's comments, Omega was still yet to sign a new deal, with his current contract set to be up around November/December. Meltzer would confirm that Omega's contract expiry date is a result of injury time being added to his deal. So you got some time, Tony. You got some time to get Punk, Kenny and the Bucks all under one happy, warm and non-brawling roof. Sounds easy. It's probably no problem at all. Anyway, ahead of tomorrow's Pipe Bomb Challenge between Ollie Davis and Pete Quinnell, we're going to check in live with Pete and see how his training is going. Sure seems like it's not going well for Pete there. Nothing to worry about for the big lad, I'm sure. And now, let's have a look at our surefire winner of the Pipe Bomb Challenge, Ollie Davis. Now that's a true winner right there. Such poise, grace, and a mastery of words that's next to none. He really is the best in the world.
In this WrestleTalk news, CM Punk's AEW return being blocked by the Elite, and Ollie's review of AEW Dynamite.